What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Welcome. Today's Friday. We have had a busy night overnight between the PMIs out of France, Germany, and also the UK. I want to talk about that price action in just a moment. Just the first a heads up, we have in about 5 minutes the Canadian core retail sales. It's a big one, but that being said, I think this is a US dollar story. I'm not sure. Even if you get good data over here, how price is going to react. I think it's dependent on the dollar. The reason I say that is because overnight we saw very first starting it off with a slight miss over here out of the services PMIs out of France. Euro kind of stayed unchanged. Then 15 minutes later, you had the German flash manufacturing PMI. Numbers came in really good along with their services. And price, although spiked up, then sold off to new lows. You had then later, a half hour later, good services and manufacturing's number out of the EU. I'm sorry, the services PMI was a slight miss and manufacturing was a beat, and euro continued to sell off. Same thing happened with the pound. The pound came out with good manufacturing services numbers, very good beats, and the pound sold off. Reason being is the market's pricing in the chances of a rate cut at about 50-50. So that being said, we're coming into the morning with the dollar, this time peaking. Remember, the last few sessions, it's been dollar weakness, dollar weakness, dollar weakness. New York takes it up the other way. Now we're coming into New York with dollar strength. All right, that's what I see coming in this morning. What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Definitely great to see you all. There's something else I wanted to also note that the markets closed green yesterday. I know that we mentioned that it was a good possibility of the markets turning green. There's a chart I want to share with you later in the session, and it's about global bank liquidity. And it seems like they're pulling it away now. So I want to share the chart, and then I want to research and confirm the chart later. And if that's true, I think we could expect the market to come in with it. So interesting stuff to consider and look at. Let me pull that up. So I'm going to be watching not only the US dollar, Canadian dollar here, I'm also going to be watching pretty closely um, the DXY here. Jersey, Mima, everybody, Steven. For a second, you guys, good morning, everyone. All right, Prince coming right up. This is the chart that I wanted to show you. First, let's see what the person wrote. If not QE did not contribute to the equity rally, then okay. So he's saying that obviously this not QE of global expansion of the money supply is what has contributed. Here's a proxy for the global money supply, this blue one. If you remember back in late, when was it? We don't have December of 2018 here when we saw a big crash and dip. Over up here, you see the money supply coming in, right? There's a good chance every time that happens that stocks, which here's the E-mini for the S&P 500, this thin purple line, they follow after the money supply comes in. they follow. Money supplies coming in. Um, do we get a print over there? Looks like it was good numbers or not. All right, we didn't get the print yet. There was someone with some inside knowledge going ahead and placing some orders right there. All right, here we go. Oof, big miss. Big miss on the core retail sales. I don't know if this offsets it or not. I have no idea. I can only tell you by price and what happens. Um, looks to me it's gonna be a pretty non-event, and it's a dollar story. All right, so let's take a look around and get a feel for the land. What's going on today? Yeah, but it we're just coming into New York, definitely running into some problems, or it hasn't done anything over the last, I guess, what is it, 3 hours? 3.5 hours. Here you go. Here's the look at with the PMI beat. Price spiked up and then sold off hard, and now it's just stabilizing, but it's too soon. I mean, I have no idea, but I would like to see what happens now over the next half hour. Every previous day this week, New York has come in and bought dollars. Here, we're looking at the same exact time here, here, and here, but this time we're trading at the highs. So what do they do? We'll find out today. I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't stay range bound this morning. Canadian dollar is not even really moving on that. All right, let's take a look off first at gold. Gold's slightly down on the day. Dollar super strong. Again, it just maintains this neutral position that we expected. So what do I expect is going to happen next? I have no idea. If I have no idea, there's no edge here that I could even find or think of yet. So I'm just going to continue to stand aside and let that develop. Pound came off pretty hard. You could see this resistance line that we have in here again is acting, but we're coming back down into the support. Do we stay pretty much range bound in this area of this actual candle going into the central bank's meeting next week? You know, if the market's looking at the odds of a rate cut are 50-50, there's really no edge. So I can't imagine, the bulls or the bears gaining momentum either way right now on the pound. So I can't even say what happens the rest of the session. It's sold off pretty hard since. It looks like it's come back down, and it's actually testing this breakout area over here. I wouldn't touch it. Looks like this resistance is definitely held here on the pound Canadian dollar. Again, the pound right now is just become. We have to wait till next week to get involved in any pound pairs. Those weren't strong numbers, really out of Canada this morning. So I think that we got to consolidate over here, but it's more of a dollar story. What let's find out over the next hour what the dollar starts doing to give us some hints about where we could look for some opportunity. Pound, the tricky thing with the Japanese yen is going to be what happens over the weekend with the coronavirus. I haven't read really any news this morning yet about whether or not it is spread overnight, if there's new cases popping up in the world, if China has quarantined more cities, or what the story is. But the scare here in trading against the Japanese yen is that the something bad happens over the weekend, the situation escalates, and there are gap downs. So that's not attractive. Australian dollar US dollar looks pretty good still. It's definitely still holding this nice support over here. It's tested it twice. Looks like it's coming back above it now. Again, highly connected to what's going on with the dollar. Bum, 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 bum. Australian dollar, US dollar, a lot of the same. Even nice that it spiked down and took out the stops over here. Supports holding again. I mean, personally, I have a lot of reservations about holding the Japanese yen over this weekend. It could go either way. You know, you could we could have gaps up or down on the Japanese yen. I think going into tomorrow and into Monday. The New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, again, having trouble holding gains. Traded up very nicely. Some positive numbers also out of New Zealand yesterday contributed to that. When we watched it during the session yesterday, it looked good. But back down into support right now. Not much of an edge today. We keep focusing back on the dollar and see which way they pull it today. Euro New Zealand dollar. I mean, you're back down into the support over here. Um, it looks interesting. I'm not about to take the counter trend here and look for a buy, but I'm gonna watch it. Meaning, if euro does stabilize over here, if euro catches a bid during New York over here, well, let's see which leads the way. I have a feeling it'll be the euro over commodity currencies, but I'm not gonna try and pick a bottom. Let's skip down to New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Let's pull it up. Again, this also looked pretty solid yesterday, uh, and then through the rest of New York, it definitely continued making games, and then since it's destabilized, and there it goes, it's holding pretty nicely right here on this line of resistance. Um, so relatively speaking, when I say relative to the strong dollar, it continues to look good. I do like the New Zealand dollar over the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen just going over into this weekend. Um, but I have my gut instinct is that if the dollar sells off, the most gains are going to be seen in the euro today. If the dollar sells off, and if the dollar doesn't sell off and is able to go ahead and start making new highs, then you don't want to be trading against it. If you're holding this from yesterday, uh, you could continue holding this and feel good about it. As far as taking a new entry up here at this point in time, meaning Friday, with the current situation of the market, I wouldn't. I would first wait to see, you know, get above and hold this resistance here, and come back and test it as support. But if you're holding it from down here and from yesterday when we were looking at this, then you know personally I feel good about still holding it. This one definitely has me perplexed. I don't have an edge whatsoever. Prices really just hanging out below that resistance, but within this blue box right now, there's no edge inside here. And you can see just a lot of noise in here. Price back in here right now. And so that's definitely big yellow neutral. Euro Japanese yen also. Whoa. If the euro, no, I don't have an edge here. Definitely not. Definitely holding the support. Spikes below it. Spikes below it held this time. I see lower highs possibly developing coming off this support. Definitely a nice area over in there. And um, again, I have no idea here. It's kind of a little bit ironic. The New York has come in here every day when the Euro US dollar was, or the Euro US dollar was at its highs, and came in here and bought up dollars. And so far today, the opposite is happening. It was at its highs, and then they're selling dollars. I'm not saying that's going to continue. I have no idea, but watching for it. There is some numbers out of the U.S. manufacturing PMI numbers coming up. That's at about 15 minutes after the market opening, about 1 hour from now, a little over 1 hour from now. Let's see if the markets key off that number at all. Good morning. Yeah, Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar look very good against the dollar. Um, Australian dollar US dollar is holding this area of support, and it's not the blue box. It's this trend line support over here. It's this nice support over here, and then I should definitely have drawn in over here. This area of support. Price is holding it well. Definitely looks to go, if the dollar gets sold this morning finally. Uh, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, euro, they all look pretty good. New Zealand dollar looks a little bit better. Definitely looks a little bit better. Not only has it's held its support, it's now uh, consolidating at the top of the next resistance and looking pretty good. US dollar, Swiss franc. This is on the strong dollar has only been able to basically make very little gains against the Swiss franc. All right, you're coming back up towards resistance over here. Um, you know, what's processing I'm processing in my head, right? Um, looks toppy for today. Definitely still towards the highs though. Looks toppy right here at this level of resistance. Is it going to hold? Right now, it's making lower lows on the time frame I'm looking at here, the 2 hour. Uh, will the Swiss franc lead on the way down? It's probably a good chance of that. This looks like a pretty strong downtrend over here, making on this leg up, still is making a lower high. Looks pretty interesting. Blair, I watched that video last night, overnight during the European session today. The Rogue Trader. That was really interesting. Being I had seen the movie, it made it a lot more interesting for me. Appreciate you sending that over. and I was really interested in actually learning about how the markets worked over at that time, where when Japan was so they were saying that the in a span of 2 years, the Japanese equity market sold off 50% and has never recovered. And because it would just get limit down and closed for the day, all the volume would go over to Singapore. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Euro, blah, 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 Canadian dollar looks just pretty um, fuzzy, right? Just looks very fuzzy for me. I don't like it. Ooh, I think the euro holding the support over here, making new highs here. This looks like a good play to the upside. This looks like a good play to the upside for me. I think that going until next week, there's going to be a lot of indecisiveness on the pound. The euro's at levels where it's getting close to being, looking for the next support, down at the whole number or down at 1.09. This looks interesting here. Also, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar back into the support is what it is. And just trying to get better luck. Mm, just it doesn't look. I mean, you can tell by my sound of my voice and my hesitation that I just don't see it. Um, my gut would tell me that the Australian dollar looks in a little bit better shape right now than the Canadian dollar, especially with the mixed results to pour out of the Canadian dollar this morning. Um, Nothing here on the Australian. Not much going on in the markets. I think the not much going on at all. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen continue both to look good. There's a look at the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. I think the entry was yesterday during New York here though. When some of you brought the attention to the New Zealand dollar. Um, Looks healthy versus the dollar. It does look healthy versus the dollar. Price seems is a little subdued for this time of day. And just now looking over here at almost everything is almost unchanged. We're pretty close to it, except for crude is down a lot. Look at that 1 second. But I'm looking over here from gold down to the euro. The pound is the biggest loser, off not even a quarter of a percent. Australian dollar, everything is almost unchanged. The price is really not moving right now. This is a pretty subdued market, right? Very. It's almost eerie. And it looks like crude's coming back down here. This is probably continue to put some pressure on the Canadian dollar. It's coming back down here, having another look at these lows over here. Ooh, liquidity coming out. Could this be the top of Tesla? I don't know. People that really know the equity markets are talking about the fact that this could just be the beginning. So we'll see. All right. I want to jump in here and take a look at the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. I want to look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Little bid right there. Nothing's really moving yet. So, what's going on? Is anyone, am I missing anything that you guys are checking out, that you guys are aware of, that you guys see? Uh, Market looks really, really almost unchanged on the day. The only story I could even see developing here is that the dollar has come up, broke the resistance, came out, tested it as support, came up here, and is now again tested that support and is now coming back. It looks like it could be breaking down over here. Oh, good, good. Who said that? Great, 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 great. I saw that the silver was way up, what with gold down earlier. I have no idea if anyone has any insight into that. Look at that. You could see these the trend line we had here. Look at it. It held. So the spikes down coming into the support, but it held, and now it's really rising off. D- At least to us, and forgive my pronunciation if I'm off. Do you have any idea of why? Good observation.